I'm joined by Padraig McKeon, Managing Director of Drury Communications. Good afternoon, Padraig. How are you doing?
Thank you.
Your country, your call. Drury Communications are doing all of the PR and the strategic communications. Tell us about it.
Well, we're working with, I suppose you best call it a consortium of people, which includes ourselves, New World Design, New World Associates, I should say, Collie OMD, and we're basically, we have a 9-channel program of activity in simple terms. So we took the period of Your Country, Your Call, starting in December actually, and working from December of last year through to the end of the competition in September next year, this year now. And we broke it up into 5 periods. So there was a preparation period up to the launch last week. There was a period of basic awareness building, which will run for 2 weeks after the launch. Then we get into what we're calling the engagement period, which is really about getting people to understand a little bit more what an application should look like and how they should get involved. And then there's a call to action, which is running right up to the final deadline on the 30th of April. And then we'll follow the campaign and we'll follow the process through the summer when the judging takes place towards the final judging on the 17th of September. So there are 5 periods of time, and then through each of those periods there are 9 channels of activity. We started out by creating an identity, which is work that New World Associates did. We then created a web presence, which is a combination of work by Cisco and Mercury Boy. And there are a number of different parts to the web presence, both to facilitate people who want to enter the competition, but also to facilitate people who just want to go on and register their interest and their support for the competition through listing out their Ireland moment and actually identifying for people a moment in time which they think epitomises Ireland as it should be at its best.
One of the things that we've been big at in Mediacontact.ie for the last couple of years is innovation. It's new ideas, it's fresh thinking, and our experience is that if you do things that are different and that stand out, good ideas will always come out. So there can only be 2 winners, and each of the 2 winners are getting 100,000. What's going to happen with the rest of the ideas?
Well, basically any idea that has relevance or merit in terms of its ability to be projected or to be assisted by any of the agencies will be passed on to the appropriate help agencies. Our intention would be that every idea that has the opportunity or the value that can in fact be assisted in some way by reference to either state agencies or indeed other bodies that might take an interest in it will in fact be filtered towards those bodies. So we're hoping that every idea that comes to us that we see having a value for some other agency, even if it's not something that would actually be appropriate as a winner of this competition, would in fact be given that support, would be directed towards that support. And we've already got an undertaking from those agencies that they will endeavour to look at those and that they will take from us those.
One of the difficulties with I think it's a great idea. One of the difficulties with it, as I see, is that an idea is just an idea. So you and I could have an idea for a new phone that might do what the iPhone would have done, but Steve Jobs had the wherewithal to make it happen. Is there, I suppose, a difficulty that people could have good ideas, and like lots of government reports are on shelves gathering dust, and as we've recently seen with George Lee, an idea is just an idea, and Pat Rabbit mentioned that like if you have a good idea, you've got to tog out every day to inch it on, to move it on and to make it happen.
I think what we're really looking at in terms of the winner, the potential winner for Your Country, Your Call, is a proposal that it isn't just about a product or an initiative that might be the basis of a company. We're looking for a bigger idea. We're looking for, if I could describe it as, rather than an individual activity, it's a field of endeavour. So the winners that will come from this are less likely to be a product, an invention, or indeed a company, an exploitation of something.
So what you're talking about is, if you're to take political ideas that were similar, banning plastic bags or the smoking ban or something that affects everybody's life, it may not be a health idea, but something of that order.
Exactly, it would be something. I mean, to put it in a slightly different way, if you take the field of social media and social networking, we're not talking about an individual application like a Twitter or a Facebook. We're talking about the whole field of social media, the body of study that goes around it, the tools, physical and software tools, and indeed the human understanding that makes that entire thing possible. So it would be actually to say there's a field of endeavour. There's an academic component to it, there's an engineering component to it, there's a financial component to it, there's an intellectual property component to it, and we look at all of those components to say how could we, to use your phrase, how could we get all of the parties to tog out in Ireland and to decide they're going to play that game in Ireland and they're going to develop their skills in Ireland and thus create a pool of jobs. And if we look at the past, there are other examples, that perhaps broad examples, but the whole field of aviation funding that evolved in the 70s and 80s when GPA developed, the whole field of fund administration that developed in the 90s through the development of the facilities in the financial services area, that we're looking at an idea that would give birth to another field of endeavour, rather than a specific idea for a specific application or a specific company.
Drury are doing this on a pro bono basis. You're a very experienced agency at the kind of top of the agency list in Ireland. What do you hope you guys will learn from doing it?
I guess for us, it's there's the big learning so far, to be honest with you, is the piece about integration. I mean, I will have strong views, and you know, I've been, I suppose, dabbling my fingers in the online space personally over the last year or so, and I would have a strong view that the entire world for people like ourselves has changed. And you know, we sit here a week after the resignation of a minister and the much celebrated tweet of Dan Boyle, but that's a very small microcosm. But the conversation is, the place in which the conversation is taking place is changing. The role of institutions in communicating, and the ability of institutions to dictate the way that the wider audience understands what's happening has changed. And I think people like us need to recognise that. We're now in a space where we're advising people in a different way. We have to learn to deal with different media in different ways. And I think this particular project, which has combined, as I said, 9 channels: advertising, television production, social media, traditional media relations, events, the web, and the actual web design, the web project that we're running to deliver the scheme, the identity, all of these things have to be integrated together, because ultimately there's one consumer out there, or one individual, who has been influenced by all of them. And if we don't have an appreciation of how all of these different pieces touch on them at different times and explain it to them in their own language, then we're not going to get it in terms of advising somebody how to get to them.
I suppose a related question, do you sense, the way I do, that there is a level of fear in the public relations industry about the new channels, that there are a lot of very skillful communicators with lots of years service who are a little bit petrified about social media and things like that?
I think that's a very simple, I would agree with that. There is. And I think, you know, Tom Murphy, Microsoft, who's out in the States now, is a good friend of mine, and he always said, look, it's basically about the audience and the message, and the mechanic or the means, you know, they will vary depending on who the audience is and what the message is. But if you understand your audience, understand the message, and understand how one needs to get to the other, then the tool will identify itself. And I think that is a simple reality that we perhaps could get people to focus back on. But you're absolutely right. There is a significant degree of nervousness, to put it in a polite way, amongst and it's not just an age thing, but amongst PR people generally.
Before we go, the clock is ticking on your country, your call. When do people have to get their application in, and how can they do it?
Applications have to be in by the 30th of April, and it's a good question about how they do it, because a lot of there are something like 700 ideas have been posted on the website already after only 4 days. Many of those are 200-300 word insertions. What we're really looking for is for people to put in a very short, pithy, maybe 50-word explanation of their idea, to mark the spot, and that will be date and time stamped to say they're the owners of that idea. Then to go away and consider it, to think it through, and to give us a real sense of how will this idea be transformational, how will it actually impact on our country, how will it create jobs, how will it actually be developed, and how is their vision of how that will be developed. Explain that in an attachment of about 2,000 words or so, or a video upload of 7 to 10 megabytes, and that would be the manner in which they would enter the competition.
Thank you, Padraig.
Right.